Hello! Multiple times in my life, I have identified as a Christian, and I've never really identified as a Buddhist, because I suppose a part of Buddhism is losing your identities. Kind of. I mean, maybe that's just spirituality in a sense, but this video is about me talking about Christianity and Buddhism and atheism, because I've been through all of those. And I'm going to tell you where I'm at now and what led me here. And I'm going to play with hay because I'm in a little hay shed. So the wind does not destroy the audio quality of this video. And yeah, leave a comment down below. Do you identify as a Christian? Do you believe I need more Jesus in my life? Or are you a Buddhist? Maybe you're atheist and you believe there's nothing. And this is all ridiculous to you. Excuse me. Or maybe you're just spiritual and you're not identifying with anything. You're just here to explore life and live life and experience it. And you don't claim to know anything. I will tell you where I'm at the end of this video. But first, let's start with Christianity. So, my parents are atheists. I grew up in an atheist house, but my parents' siblings, my aunts and uncles, and some other family members and friends at times have been Christian. So whenever I was a kid, my parents always told me I could be any religion I wanted to. It was up to me. They weren't going to force me to do anything, and I was blessed to have such wise and loving parents. Honestly, that's my humble opinion. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for not forcing me to have your beliefs and for teaching me to do the same thing so I can do that for my son. But as I grew up, I was surrounded by Christianity and heavily influenced. In fact, one of my earliest memories of, I think it was with one of my friends, he took me to church, and as soon as they all found out that I was not saved, they all surrounded me. And it was like this whole oh my gosh, we got him. And I remember the energy, even as a kid, it was like, it threw me off a little bit. It's like, this is weird. Like, it felt, I couldn't put my finger on it, but people saw an opportunity to convert me to the worldview. And that makes people feel good whenever they can completely transfer a life to the worldview. And of course, I'm sure most of them actually thought it was the right thing to do. It's the purest right thing to do for life, for God. But even to this day, looking back, it was just, fake isn't the right word, but it's just like, I could tell the conditioning. It was conditioning. It was like, all right, So did you hear this happen? Then this happened, and this happened. And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, this is a great story. But it got me. I mean, it did. And I remember waking up the next day and that feeling of being saved. I remember actually giving into the thought and, the thought and the feeling of opening my heart to this thing I was imagining in my head. And it turned real for me in my experience, and the whole world was different. Even as a kid, it was like it felt brighter while it lasted. And so I was Christian, but it didn't really last because I wasn't friends with that kid for much longer. I didn't think much about it. It was just like I was going with the crowd. And so I weaved in and out of Christianity. And the more time I spent with those crowds and going to churches, the more conditioning happened in my head. And so I got a lot of fear conditioning, God-fearing condition. I feared hell. I have had and still have inside of me. I'm trying to liberate myself from it. A fear of hell. A fear of how to live. And I gotta say, that's not how I want to live. As I've grown up, and that's what's inspired me to go and search for more spiritually, is to not live in fear and to not live and just blindly believe what other people say. And I saw all the controlling and all the horrible things that these state of minds do. But at the same time, I also saw the good things of being a Christian, being a good person, caring, helping other people. Those are qualities that I picked up. And I want to say it's Christian values. Whenever people say that's Christian values, that type of stuff is in Buddhism. It's in other religions too. It's in atheism. It's in humanity in general. That's called humanity, in my humble opinion. It's helping each other out with an open heart, okay? You don't need Jesus to do that, in my humble opinion. But I grew up with an atheist foundation, but then heavy Christianity influence. And multiple times friends, mostly in my adult life. In fact, only in my adult life it was friends, because I stopped really spending time with family in my adult life. And so I never went to church with them again. But in my adult life, I went to church with friends just because they're my friends and they want me to go to church, and I'll go to church with them. I'll play into it. But not even play into it. Every single time I went to church, I said, I'm going to church with a heart wide open. I'm not even just going to be a skeptic. I'm not going to be a skeptic. I'm going to go in there and, I'm going to see if it's true. Because every single time I wanted to see if it was true. I didn't want to just be some skeptical atheist, because I thought even that was closed-minded. Because I knew just going off of the logics of my brain, I felt was limiting, and I didn't want to limit my life. And I thought, even if this was just a placebo effect, even if Jesus wasn't real and all of this was just for control, I saw the good in Christianity, and I saw how people not wanting to sin and people wanting to be good people, it created a good thing. So even if it was just all in their head, I wanted to see if I could feel some type of energy from going along with it, or if it was true. Because, hey, you're rubbing against the tripod. This kitty's rubbing against the tripod, trying to ruin the video. Yeah, I knew you'd walk away if I started pointing at you, because you're camera shy. You need more Jesus in your life, kitty. Just kidding. Okay. Or am I? Jesus, kitty, save us. Alright. What was I talking about? Where am I? Christianity. I knew that there was good to it, and many times in my adult life, like the community, people coming together and caring about each other, helping each other, and wanting to be good, decent people. That's something I really resonated with. But also a God. I've been praying my entire life, less whenever I go the Buddhism spiritual route, because I don't feel as much a need to pray, and I'll explain that later in the video. But I've always had a relationship with God, whatever. I mean, and I've been skeptical of it more times than others. Like, whenever I was a kid, I was not skeptical of it at all. I was really feeding into my imagination, and I wanted to believe it. I wanted to believe it was real, because it's such a magical thing to be able to talk to God. And so I fully gave myself into it. There being a God, but not in a fearful way. As a kid, I talked about God after people conditioning my mind, of course. But I talked about God in my own way, because I didn't want to give into the boring idea that they had for God. I had my own personal idea for God, and God was wonderful and great, and God never got angry. God only loved us and wants to help us. That's how I felt. But I had a fear of demons. I remember whenever I was a kid, my parents let me paint my room, and I painted blue, but then I put pink polka dots for some reason. Or yeah, I said for my girlfriend, because I had a girlfriend whenever I was in kindergarten for whatever reason. Society conditioning. I said, she's my girlfriend. You want to be my girlfriend? She's my girlfriend. So I put pink polka dots inside my room for her, even though she never really went in there because I was a kid and we only knew each other at school and between our parents' friends or whatever. Maybe she did go in there once or twice, but it was at parties. Anyway, at one point, whenever I was a kid, I wanted to put something over the pink polka dots, and I started putting crosses over them because I was like, blue is good, red means evil. Red, and I told one of my, it was the girlfriend, I think. I told her, all right, we need to actually cover up all these pink polka dots inside my room because it's allowing demons to get into my room. The imagination of a kid. So the fear conditioning through Christianity came into me at a young age. And in my adult life, I had a near-death experience where I almost died. I got ran over by a car. And in the middle of the surgery, in fact, I was blackout drunk. And then I don't remember getting run over by a car. But the next thing I remember that very night, after starting to play cards and drinking too much, is waking up in the surgery hospital bed, grabbing a nurse's arm and saying, please pray to Jesus Christ for me. Because I knew I was about to die. And there was a fear inside my brain that I would go to hell. So that fear conditioning really got deep inside my brain. And that's another reason I feel as though, and I need to let go of this, but I have resentment for Christianity, for putting this fear inside my brain, because it's limited my life. It's caused suffering in my life that doesn't need to be there. It's made me create suffering for other people. Even in that situation, that nurse, and okay, I need to take responsibility, and that's not so much the fear conditioning, that's more just how I was in that moment. I shouldn't have gotten blackout drunk and then got myself run over by a car. That's a whole nother video, but what I'm saying is I have resentment for that, and I need to let go of that by taking accountability. But there's a fear and conditioning in Christianity, and that's what's caused me to really move away from it. And the only thing that makes me move back to it is the fear. There's something in my gut that says that's not right. And another thing that makes me move away is just the inconsistency, the logic of it whenever I use my critical thinking in my brain, and like how I see the control that it seems over the years. First of all, there's no way to actually prove it. Second of all, there's so many different variations of Christianity, and I mean that those types of religions where they all think they're right, and then thousands of years ago we're gonna believe this thousands-year-old game of telephone that one man that could have been a cult leader or just simply a guru or a spiritual leader who inspired people. It could be a game of telephone. We don't know how much of that is true. I don't care how many verified historians and archaeologists or whatever say this happened and this happened. We can't know it was true unless we were there. Okay, same thing with any historical event. And there's scientific ways to prove things, but science has not proved Jesus Christ to be the Son of God. It is not. Science has not proved that Jesus Christ rose from the dead, that Jesus Christ turned water into wine, that Jesus Christ did all these amazing miracles. And even if it happened, it doesn't mean Jesus Christ is the Son of God. It could be aliens with vast technology. It could be mankind from the future who found technology to come to the past and do amazing miracles. Or maybe we have more abilities than we think. Or maybe it's all a placebo effect. There's so many different factors. And so this way of thinking, this logical way of thinking, and being in an atheist house and being surrounded by people who are usually far more intelligent than me and giving me all these reasons and thought processes that are very logical has created an atheist within me. And so there have been periods of my life where I have been atheist. But I found that, like I said, limiting, because even being an atheist is closed-minded in a way. Whenever you say you know for sure there's nothing there, it's as if I have a wall up right here, and then I say, okay, who here thinks there's a banana behind this wall? Okay, who here thinks there's not a banana behind this wall? Now, who here thinks there is a banana, but there's also not a banana at the same time? Maybe it's something else. That's basically the same thing. It's like, who atheists saying that they know for a fact that there is no God, that there is nothing. Anybody who says they know how this universe is for a fact, I strongly believe is a fool. Because you do not know. There is no way to know. Your brain, your way of understanding this universe is like a spoon trying to empty out the ocean. It's not possible. And it likely will never be possible. But there's a lot of usage in being an atheist or having that state of mind of being logical in this physical world. You can prove things wrong in the physical world. If there even is a spiritual world. I've come to be more agnostic through the years. I don't disbelieve, but I don't believe. Because I understand that I'll never really know, and there's so many different factors of what could be going on in this universe. There's so many different things that could be going on that we don't see. Our senses do not see the actual reality. Whenever I'm picking up and feeling these blades of grass, I'm not actually feeling the actual blades of grass or seeing the actual blades of grass. The light is going in, hitting my eyes, reflecting off of it, and it's like it's an echo, echo of an echo of an echo of what the real thing is. And then even then, whenever we're trying to tell someone else about it, I tell my son about it, then his son, then if he has kids and he tells his kids, and then it's like that is further watering down the truth. Our senses are only watering down the truth. Our words are never even the truth. It's just a made up scape inside of our mind that we tell ourselves is the truth, and then we get so attached to. And so, as I matured through the years, I've grown out of Christianity, I've grown out of atheism, and I've gotten more towards Buddhism in that sense, but I've never called myself a Buddhist. I've just, because even that has seemed like a limitation in a sense of having guidelines and certain things. Well, no, it's just any worship or any type of thought process or state of mind that decides anything is concrete. Like I said, I find foolish. But Buddhism and all that seems closer to being more like, I don't understand what is really here. But I'm not really into Buddhism because there's a lot of other things that go into that I haven't even learned about. And I know there's like guidelines or certain things. And I'm vegan for other reasons. And I've grown spiritual through the years. But so I'm not Buddhist. I'm not anything. I don't identify with anything. But I do, and through the years, I've seen certain aspects of these religions and of spirituality as tools to enhance my life and to make me a better human being, but also to experience spiritual, divine, mystical things. Because as I grew more into this Eastern side, this Buddhist, or not philosophical, but the spiritual meditation and yoga and all that, I dove deeper and I found deeper dimensions of life, of living, of myself. I let go of the thoughts and identities I had and of who I thought I was. And I let go of a lot of the fear that Christianity had, and it allowed me to explore. And I started meditating a lot and pushing my mind and body and seeing sometimes in trance states, or just sometimes in a normal state, seeing life from a different perspective and having more joy, having more clarity, having more love and compassion, not being triggered by people as much, and having more purpose and joy and love in life. More wonder. More respect. And so that's where I'm at now. Is I'd say I'm spiritual. I'm agnostic. Sometimes I'd still pray to Jesus out of the conditioning and fear. Other times it's not out of fear. Other times it's just not so much as an experiment, but I try to actually just open my heart up, to see if anything actually happens. And even if it's a hallucination or whatever, it's quite the experience if it does happen. But it doesn't. It hasn't. Sure, some things have happened in my life, like the time I woke up in the surgery and said, please pray to Jesus, and then of course I survived, but was I really gonna die? Was I really on the verge of death? Coincidence. They're all coincidences. There's no way to prove it. There's so many factors. Another thing was, one time I was drinking and I was about to drive my car home, and I knew I shouldn't, and I felt so bad about it, so I prayed to Jesus, said, Jesus, please, I don't want to drive. I'm about to drive. I've been drinking. Please, do something to make me stop. Convince me to make me stop. I went out there, my car would not start. And then came back the next day, I walked home, I walked back, the car started immediately. Now, of course, that could be 1,000 different things. It really could be. And I think it was cold that night, so there's that, obviously. Another thing that happened was, one time I was struggling, I was playing music to make a living, and I was about to go out and street perform again, but I hadn't been making much money that week, and I prayed to Jesus and God, and I said, please, please, help me make the money I need for rent. Help me make more money. And as soon as I walked out of that parking garage, someone handed me $100 bill, but it was a fake $100 bill. And that, even if it was real, it wouldn't have been enough for rent. So my prayers weren't even really answered. But later on that same day, in that same session, someone gave me a $50 bill that was real. And that was the biggest tip I've ever gotten. So, to a certain extent, my prayer was answered. My rent wasn't paid, but I got more money than ever before. But that could have been in my head, because maybe me praying got me into the state of mind to simply just perform better and just be more open as people walked by, which people see that. And I know that I never say I know anything for a fact, because like I said, I don't like coming to conclusions about things, because conclusions are only limitations. But I've seen that whenever my state of mind is in a good place and I play music better, people pay me more money. And again, so many factors that go with that. And so my brain and critical thinking says, you can't just blindly believe that that's the conclusion off of that one piece of evidence or whatever. There's this world and cosmic experience. It's so vast. And we're limiting ourselves to what other people say, to what we think inside of our brain that's like a spoon that can't even empty out an ocean. It's not the truth. And so now, my focus is to be a decent human being, to open my heart up as much as I can, to open my mind up and my clarity and focus as much as I can, to be unbiased as possible. And a huge part of me wants to let go of Jesus, because I'm only holding on because of fear. Why? Why should I hold on because of fear? If I'm happy, if I'm a decent human being, if I'm helping people, why should I subscribe to using Jesus Christ's name only because I fear if I don't, then my blessings won't actually bless people? Then I will go to hell. I really want to let go of any fear of hell, so I can fully blossom as a human being. Because whenever I'm in a fearful state, I'm all tensed and I'm all like, am I doing the right thing? I'm all in my head. But whenever I'm not tense. I'm very free-flowing like water. And my heart and my mind, they run clearly and openly. And so naturally, it feels like the right thing to do. How about you? Leave a comment down below. Are you religious, atheist, spiritual? All three somehow? That wouldn't make any sense. Maybe you have 3 personalities in your brain and you switch in between them. That'd be quite the life to live. Either way, I wish you a blessed day. Thank you for watching. For the animals! Woo!